I remember the first time I saw him, the way he stood in the living room, the late afternoon sun casting a warm glow on his face. Mark, my stepdad, had just moved in with my mom, and I was both excited and nervous. At 19, I was caught between childhood and adulthood, but there was something about him that awakened a desire I didn't understand. He was charming, a little too charming, with a smile that could light up a room. My mom was head over heels, and I was happy for her, but the more time I spent with Mark, the more I felt an unfamiliar pull towards him. It started with innocent glances, lingering just a moment too long during family dinners. I would catch myself stealing looks at him, my heart racing each time our eyes met. One night, everything changed. My mom had a late meeting, leaving Mark and me alone in the house. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone, when he walked in, a glass of wine in hand. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, settling down beside me. The space between us felt electric, charged with an energy that made my skin tingle. "Sure," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. We talked about everything and nothing, but the conversation soon turned to more personal topics. He leaned closer, and I could smell his cologne, a mix of cedarwood and something uniquely him. My heart raced as he brushed his fingers against my arm, sending shivers down my spine. It was just a touch, but it felt like something more. "Lily," he said softly, his voice low. "You're growing up. You've become quite the young woman." I blushed, feeling a strange mix of pride and embarrassment. "Thanks, I guess." Then, without thinking, I leaned in closer, our faces inches apart. I could see the flicker of surprise in his eyes, and for a moment, time stood still. It was a moment filled with possibility, a silent agreement that something was about to change between us. Before I could second-guess myself, I kissed him. The kiss was soft at first, a tentative exploration. But as he responded, deepening the kiss, I felt a rush of exhilaration. This was wrong, but it felt so right. I was lost in the moment, the world outside fading away. We pulled apart, breathless and wide-eyed. "What just happened?" I stammered, a mix of fear and excitement coursing through me. "I don't know," he replied, running a hand through his hair, looking both exhilarated and terrified. "This isn't right, Lily." But deep down, I knew we were already in too deep. This was just the beginning of a secret that would change everything. As the weeks passed, our secret affair blossomed in the shadows. Every stolen moment was a thrill, a rush that left me craving more. We would find ways to be alone together, under the guise of family activities or late-night chats. The thrill of sneaking around fueled my desire, and I was addicted to the rush. It started with innocent touches, his hand resting on my back, a lingering embrace when my mom wasn't around. Each encounter ignited a fire within me, a hunger I never knew existed. We would meet in the garage, the old car parked just out of sight, our laughter echoing against the metal walls. In those moments, nothing else mattered except the two of us. One afternoon, while my mom was at work, Mark invited me to help him with a project in the basement. I knew it was just a cover, but I didn't care. I followed him down the stairs, my heart pounding in anticipation. The basement was dimly lit, creating an intimate atmosphere that made my skin tingle with excitement. As we worked side by side, our hands brushed against each other, sending sparks flying. The air was thick with unspoken tension. I could feel the heat radiating off him, and my body responded in ways I couldn't control. I turned to face him, our eyes locking in a moment that felt like it would last forever. "Lily," he said, his voice low and serious. "We shouldn't be doing this." But I didn't want to hear that. I wanted him. I stepped closer, our bodies almost touching. "But I want to," I whispered, the words escaping before I could think. In an instant, his lips were on mine again, more urgent this time. The kiss deepened, and I melted against him. I felt alive, intoxicated by the thrill of our forbidden desire. We were lost in each other, the world outside fading away. Nothing else mattered except the heat between us and the promise of more. But as the days turned into weeks, I started to feel the weight of our secret. Guilt crept in, whispering doubts in my ear. Was this really worth it? I loved the thrill, but part of me knew it was wrong. Each time I caught a glimpse of my mom, happy and oblivious, my heart ached with the burden of our deception. Yet, the intensity of our affair only grew. We began to meet in more daring places, sneaking kisses in the kitchen or stealing moments in the laundry room. The danger heightened the thrill, and I found myself craving him more and more, even as the guilt gnawed at my conscience. Everything changed when my mom started noticing the little things. She picked up on the lingering glances, the way I would blush when Mark entered the room. Her intuition was sharp, and I could see the questions brewing in her mind. I tried to dismiss it, convincing myself I was overreacting. But the tension in the air was palpable, and I could feel the walls closing in. One evening, I was in the living room, my heart racing as I awaited Mark's arrival. My mom was out shopping, leaving us alone for just a few precious hours. As I paced nervously, I heard the familiar sound of his key in the lock. The moment he walked in, I felt a rush of relief mixed with excitement. "Hey, beautiful," he greeted, closing the door behind him. We exchanged a quick kiss, and I felt the familiar thrill wash over me. But something was different. I could sense an unease in the air, a tension that made my heart race for all the wrong reasons. We tried to carry on as usual, but I could see the worry etched on his face. "Lily, I think your mom is starting to suspect something," he said, his voice low and urgent. "What do you mean?" I asked, anxiety creeping in. "She mentioned something about my late nights and how I seem to be spending too much time with you," he replied, running a hand through his hair. Panic surged through me. What if she finds out? I whispered, fear tightening my chest. "I don't know," he said, his voice filled with concern. "But we need to be careful." I nodded, but deep down, I knew it was too late to turn back. Our secret was becoming harder to maintain, and the thrill was now overshadowed by fear. We continued our affair, but every kiss felt laced with the risk of discovery. Days later, everything came crashing down. I returned home one afternoon, the house eerily quiet. I felt a knot of dread in my stomach as I entered the living room. The sight that met my eyes froze me in place, my mom, standing there, her arms crossed, her expression a mix of disbelief and anger. "Lily, we need to talk," she said, her voice sharp and cold. My heart raced as I glanced at Mark, who stood frozen near the doorway, his face pale. "Mom, I..." "Don't," she interrupted, her voice trembling with emotion. "I saw everything. How could you do this to me?" The words hung heavy in the air, the weight of betrayal crashing down around us. I felt my world tilt, the ground beneath me crumbling. In that moment, all the excitement, all the passion, evaporated, leaving only shame and regret in its wake. In the days that followed, our lives unraveled. My mom's hurt was palpable, and the silence in the house was deafening. I felt like a stranger in my own home, the walls closing in with every passing hour. I had betrayed the one person who loved me unconditionally, and now I was left to grapple with the consequences. Mark tried to reach out, but my mom forbade him from coming around. I could see the pain etched on his face, but I couldn't bring myself to face him. The guilt consumed me, and I found myself spiraling into a pit of despair. I had thrown away everything for a fleeting thrill, and now I was left with nothing but regret. One night, I sat on my bed, staring at the wall, lost in thought. Memories of our stolen moments flooded my mind, the sweetness of our kisses now tainted by the reality of my actions. I longed for the excitement, but now it felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the pain of loss. My mom and I had a long talk, one filled with tears and anger. She struggled to understand why I had done it, and I couldn't find the words to explain the complexity of my feelings. I was young and foolish, caught in a whirlwind of desire and confusion. But now, I was left with the shattered remains of my family. As time passed, I began to rebuild my life. I focused on my studies, threw myself into my work, and tried to mend my relationship with my mom. It was a slow process, filled with ups and downs, but I was determined to make things right. I learned the hard way that some desires come with a price, and the cost was far greater than I had ever imagined. In the end, I couldn't forget Mark. He had been a part of my life, a secret that had ignited a fire within me. But I also knew that some things are best left in the past. As I moved forward, I took the lessons of my mistakes with me, determined to find a path that led to healing. If you enjoyed this tale of forbidden desires and the complexities of love, don't forget to like and subscribe for more engaging stories filled with passion, drama, and unexpected twists. Your support helps bring these tales to life, and I can't wait to share more with you.